You got to dress for the job you want.
Oh, yes.
Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Kia ora, Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, we're going to do something a little bit different, man. We're going off the cuff today, okay? I wanted to talk about something that caught my attention on yesterday's stream. We did our Sim Sundays episode. We had a couple hundred people in there. We got talking about the Chargers uniforms. And it's a big topic for people right now because, of course, the NFL's unveiling some pretty sweet stuff the last couple of months, man. I gotta tell you, dudes, I don't know if I care so much for like the blue H or whatever, but those red uniforms that the Texans released a couple of months ago, absolute heat, dude. I gotta tell you, they really hit the nail on the head with that one. We recently saw one with the Minnesota Vikings, their alternate away uniforms, kind of frosted sort of look. Very, very cool. And to me, I think it's about time that the Chargers take advantage of the multiple different kind of, helmet roll that they got going on right now, as well as take advantage of using an alternate style or an alternate uniform to really put a footprint in time for the Jim Harbaugh era and kicking off the Jim Harbaugh era. Some of you guys are probably going to hate this video. Some of you guys don't think there's a point. I understand that, but to me, it's important. I care because I think the Chargers are one of the best represented teams in the NFL in terms of design. I think we really kick butt, and I want to see them continue pushing the limit on that because the Chargers historically have been one of the best looking teams in the NFL in terms of design. That's something that I think a lot of us are very proud of in terms of our fandom, and I want to see that continue. I think it's about time the Chargers do show us something maybe in regards to what the Chargers' new look could be in terms of, using the new helmet. And I'll explain more of that here in just a second, but should be interesting. We're going to have fun with it. We're going to improvise a lot in this video and just kind of talk the way we did yesterday on stream. Before we do kick off, though, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $250. Newcomers definitely take advantage of the special on screen. Before we do kick off, hit us up with the like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it. Lights, camera, action. Your new Chargers alternate uniforms and mascot. We're going to throw some couple of things in there at the end here as to what the Chargers should be doing. It's a discussion, okay? We're going to have a discussion about it because it is, I think, in my opinion, an important aspect of the team. And I feel like this is the biggest reason I wanted to do this video because, again, like I mentioned at the top of the show, I almost view uniforms and design in the same way I think of like music, right? I'm not a big music person, but every once in a while I can stop in my tracks and I hear something from my youth, from high school, from when I was a little kid or whatever. And that song represents to me a footprint in time. Brings me back to the best memories I had in that time period. And the same thing applies for Chargers uniforms for me. When I think of, the navies that we had with the Phillip Rivers era, I think of some of the best times I had as a Chargers fan watching Phillip Rivers and Malcolm Floyd and Vincent Jackson, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the same can be said for Chargers fans across the entire span of the team's history because the Chargers have been one of the best represented teams in terms of design. We'll do a quick little history lesson in terms of Chargers uniforms to kind of give ourselves inspiration as to what we want to see. Because I'm going to give you guys some examples of what I think the Chargers should be doing and what the team can do to help us put a footprint in time for the Jim Harbaugh era's beginnings. All right, so 1960s, the early days, we did have the Navy inside the Bolt, which is very interesting. This era kind of reminds me of like the early stuff that I've looked into as a Chargers fan. Some of the early players, Charlie Joyner, Lance Allworth, et cetera, et cetera. This design, the powder blues, the classics, the throwbacks that we hope to see every once in a while as Chargers fans, really do represent the origins of the team, the roots in San Diego, and largely in part, especially with the Navy, with their relationship to the Navy in San Diego. And it really is a big part of the team's history. And it's one that I do hope to see return at some point. But I think the biggest part of it, as you continue on down here, the powder blues, making their stamp as one of the best looking, I guess, colors in the NFL. You get into the era of like Dan Fouts and Kellen Winslow, very talented Chargers teams have graced us in the past. And we've got guys in the chat all the time that have been Chargers fans since the beginning, since the 70s, the 80s. And they'll tell you, the Chargers are turning a corner in the same way we did back then, or we got players that remind us of Lance Allworth and Ladd McConkey, or we've always had good quarterbacks dating back to Fouts and all these guys. And it's really cool to hear about the history of the team, particularly for me, when the Chargers did adopt the new, we'll say, navy helmets, right? The color in the helmet really does have that stamp in time that the Chargers are known for, right? And again, this is going to be your Dan Fouts, your Kellen Winslow's, a little later down the line, your LTs, your Junior Seau's. There was a very long period of time that this helmet, in particular this one, the filled in, navy with the white bolt, it holds a lot of, character and symbolism for Chargers fans of some of the best eras in Chargers history, in particular this era here, right, between 92 and 2000, Chargers going to their one and only Super Bowl in that era. You had Junior Seau, and then a little further in here you got LaDainian Tomlinson, some of the best Chargers ever existed within the Navy helmet. Now, a big reason I believe that the Chargers haven't been utilizing this in the past is because, well, there were restrictions on how many helmets that you could utilize. For the most part, you would have the one color that you stick to, and whether you're away or you're home, the options were pretty limited. Nowadays, the NFL has gotten a lot looser on what you can do in terms of, combinations and alternate uniforms, and it really has opened up an awesome new era of creativity. And honestly, an opportunity for teams to throw back to some of their best eras in football. You see it a little bit with some teams throwing back. I know they can hit or miss sometimes, like the Denver Broncos, but every once in a while you do see something like this, the Houston Texans, that really just grab the identity of the team, add an extra element of intimidation and cool factor, and it throws it out into the field to make fans and everybody super excited about this era. Because I got to tell you guys right now, the biggest reason I pulled this uniform aside specifically is because of what it represents to the Houston Texans and that fandom, right? We talked about what all those other uniforms and the stamp and time represent for Chargers fans dating back to Fouts and Winslow and LT and Seau. This is going to be a very important footprint in time for Texans fans. Their new quarterback has arrived, right? The new era of Houston football is here, and the success is going to follow. I think the team and the marketing people and the design people, they all understand this, and they knew that it was time to put that footprint for Texans fans to remember this era by, to not only get them excited about what's happening in this build with their new quarterback, because again, the future looks really bright if you're a Houston Texans fan, but it also gives them something to hold on to as fans from here on out. Because I'm not going to lie, guys, like as a Chargers fan, we are blessed with some of the best uniforms. We just got a fresh new look, which we're going to talk about in just a second, that I think is among the best in the NFL. I think the Chargers do still firmly have the best uniforms in the NFL. But honestly, something fresh with the new perspective of what we're seeing all over the league with these alternates, especially involving the helmets, I think would be a brilliant way to put that footprint in time for Jim Harbaugh. Because like the Texans, I foresee a turning of a corner for our franchise. I see brighter days ahead for our franchise. I see something so different and unique to the Chargers about to happen that I think it's very worth the time and effort of the Chargers to help us keep that feeling and keep that nostalgic factor with, alternate uniforms that are appropriate for that. And again, very exciting to kind of think about that. Congratulations, first off, to the Texans, who are rounding a corner. Very cool thing. And I think this is an awesome way to keep that cool factor and that nostalgia factor alive for their fans. Now, of course, everybody's going to have different emotions and things linked to different Chargers uniforms. Me personally, and this is going to be a big one, right? Chargers fans ask me about this all the time. What do you think about this concept or that concept? One of my favorite jersey concepts out there was this navy with the white bolt. It reminds me so much of Antonio Gates, of LaDainian Tomlinson, of course. This moment in particular, when I see that design of uniform, it reminds me of this moment, LaDainian Tomlinson breaking the record, one of the best football players in the NFL in its history. It reminds me of one of the best moments in Chargers history. And it's awesome for me to go back and think about that sort of thing, right? me discovering myself as a fan for the Chargers and understanding the history of the team. I was, watching, at this time and becoming a huge fan of LaDainian Tomlinson, which ultimately led to my fandom as a Chargers fan. There's so much history in that moment. And taking a modern look on that, I think, is a very good idea. I think they had a good start with it. I've been very vocal about this since the uniforms came out. I love these new navies. Some people don't love them. Some people think they're hit and miss. I think they're a really nice alternate, especially considering the whole midnight feel to it, the way they marketed it. I think it's great, right? Do I think that there could be an even cooler alternate? I do agree. But I am a big fan of these. I own maybe 3 or 4, maybe even 5 of these alternate jerseys in my collection, at least, because I thought they were just so cool. I think the biggest thing that can help elevate that, though, is having that color, in the helmet to help complement it. And what I'm talking about is, yes, we do color the helmet in with the dark blue, the navy, and then you could keep the outline, you can fill it in with white. Either way, I think that would be an awesome concept. Other uniforms that hold a lot of, precious memories to Chargers fans, the powder blues, the classic throwbacks, right? These are awesome. They're actually one that I hope actually return with no alterations whatsoever. There's a lot of guys, out there that prefer, let's just keep the old school look. Let's go out there and represent the history of the team, and I'm all about that, man. I'd be stoked if the Chargers added a couple of games, with throwbacks in their schedule, which honestly would be pretty cool. But, modern takes of that certainly don't hurt either. The Chargers are a great powder blue team right now. The identity of the team, which a lot of Chargers fans, let's be honest, were pushing for that for years. As a Chargers fan myself, through the Phillip Rivers era and all of that, we were primarily Navy in that time. Actually, as a matter of fact, we can go back to the evolution here and show you guys in and around the time I was a Chargers fan between, we'll say, a little bit before this era, and then all the way up until we got the new uniforms. The Chargers really didn't have powder blue primarily in their schedule for a long time. It wasn't until around, was it 2019, that the Chargers finally made powder blue their permanent main uniforms. And that kind of held true into the rebrand in 2020 as well, which is awesome, right? I think Chargers powder blue, it should stay. I don't think that's something that we should change. Instead, what I'm kind of suggesting is that the Chargers maybe take one of these alternates and update them. They add another alternate to the schedule. Just add a little bit of something to help us remember this season and the kickoff of the Jim Harbaugh era a little bit better, because there's some really cool stuff going on. And honestly, this is the year to kind of experiment and figure stuff out, because, if it's a hit or if it's a miss, you got time in the Jim Harbaugh era to really get it right. And I think the Chargers, team have really proved over and over and over again that they're up to the challenge. Every single time that they've come out with something, it really has blown my socks off, man. We've got one of the best design teams out there. Well, what about the royal blue? I think the royal blue throws me back to Kellen Winslow and my time watching him. As far as, my history, of course, I wasn't around back in the day, but I remember watching the Epic in Miami. As a Chargers fan, I felt like it was a rite of passage. I got to go out and watch that game from start to finish. And it was one of the best things I had ever seen. I think they were away in that game. But it got me really interested in the Chargers of that era, and I got looking into Kellen Winslow, who ended up being one of my favorite Chargers from that era, along with Dan Fouts. Awesome team. The Royal Blues kind of do remind me of that, right? And then you got the modern take on all of the Chargers jerseys, right? I do love what the Chargers have done. The Chargers, I think, have done such an appropriate job. And this is why I have such high expectations and why I think the Chargers should go out and do something like this. The Chargers did a great job in 2020 by redesigning, modernizing the uniform while also keeping so much of the history intact for it. Because if I'm being honest, guys, I don't think there's much topping this in the NFL. The NFL is doing some cool stuff. Other teams are rolling out some awesome alternates, but the Chargers, in my opinion, will always be tops, right? This is peak design, peak, color, a combination, peak everything. The Chargers really do scream premium design in terms of uniforms, and we're very lucky. This is an awesome design that I want to continue being the identity of this team going forward. But there are some cool things that we can throw into a factor on top of that, right? We already kind of looked at that. Great uniforms. Chargers fans, we are very lucky. And again, I would be super okay with us just going into the season like this. I think we'll be fine with it. But I want to see us take advantage of the opportunity to do something a little bit different. And this is going to be the biggest one, right? This is one of the biggest ones that Chargers fans are looking for us to implement out here. We want to get that navy blue helmet back with the Chargers at some point. And I do think this, maybe I'm making this whole video with the hopes that the Chargers and someone out there do see the video and say, hey man, let's look at the comments. Let's see what people are saying. Let's go to social media. I'll point you guys in the right direction if we have to. Chargers fans really, really are anticipating something, and they really want to see something in the light of the Navy helmet making a return. I think it would be great. I think it shares so much history with the best times that we've had as Chargers fans, and it really would look quite intimidating, out there on the field. I think Chargers would really, really, really benefit from adding that to the regime there. And that's kind of why I included, stuff like this, because you can do these uniforms again, but by adding that Navy helmet and maybe filling in the white bolts on the right there with Keenan Allen, that would bring completely fresh and new element to that uniform that really represents what we're doing with Jim Harbaugh right now. It's a new era. It's more hard-nosed football. It's more physical and old school. I want to see a little bit of that represented with the team, right? And this is, on the flip side, something that I wouldn't mind as well. The Chargers, it is a modern take on a classic look, and I'm okay with that, right? And this is kind of my second preference. My first preference is to get the white in the bolts and, make them kind of, just a new, modern, but closer version of that throwback. This one is a modernized version of it, and I don't hate it, right? Getting that helmet filled in, putting the outlined bolt on the side, and most importantly, keeping that number on the side. I do enjoy the number. I think would be a fresh look for that too. But take advantage of that helmet rule, man. It was changed a few seasons ago. I was anticipating something happening even a couple of seasons ago, and it did not happen. Let's get it going right now, man. There's been other concepts thrown around there. I'm going to let you guys kind of throw your opinion in the comment section about this as well. I'll share mine a little bit too, but I don't hate, these kinds of ideas. Filling out the helmet with the powder blue does seem interesting, right? It does feel a little UCLA, but I mean, who cares, right? It's time to have fun with it. Chargers fans would have fun with it. Is it my favorite? Probably not. I still think the Navy is something I really want to heavily focus on. Other designs that I think are kind of cool. This one was definitely different, right? It almost feels like, I don't know, if I'm being honest with you, it feels more like an arena football league kind of uniform, but hey, there's elements to it that I do appreciate. I do like some of the ways that they separated the color. But ultimately, yeah, you guys let me know what you think. And a big reason why I did pick out this particular image is because there has been talk recently with Chargers fans and how cool it would be to have a jersey that does utilize the yellow, the sunshine state, the sunshine, bright, vibrant color of yellow, and then maybe even using it in the alternate helmet as the yellow primary as well. I think it would be cool. I mean, there was a few years ago that this was released. I think it was with the new uniforms that there was a yellow jersey. I never was really a big fan of it, if I'm being honest. But hey, I mean, you mix it in that way with the powder blue. You make it feel more like a superhero sort of element. I could come around to it. But between the two, if I'm being honest, the new era, it feels more like the left side to me would be more appropriate. I don't know how much I want to put black on the Chargers, but that darker, more intimidating look does appeal to me more right now because that feels more representative of what Jim Harbaugh is trying to build here. Again, it's tough, it's physical, and it's something that ultimately I would like to be reflected in our look, even if it's with, an alternate jersey. Another kind of, look here. I mean, again, these are stuff that we kind of pulled off of Twitter. This is from back in the San Diego days too. The filled in helmet with the powder blue. I don't hate it, but again, mixing in more of that dark element. I do like that this is more of a mix of the navy and the dark blue and the powder blue, and I don't know. It's one that's kind of interesting. You guys let me know that one. Here's another alternate that I think would be interesting. Filling in the helmet with the navy, with the royal blue. I think that would look okay. It feels something like the Rams may do more than us. Maybe they already have, and I don't even know. I'm not even thinking about it, but hey, I don't hate it. Again, it does remind me of the Kellen Winslow, kind of era a little bit. But hey, I mean, you could do a lot worse. And if I were ranking these, this would probably be like second, I think, right now. What about these guys? This is kind of a redesign here too. I was looking through some of the sites and they had some guys doing complete redesigns of the team, and in which the Chargers, what are we, like a triceratops up there? Interesting logo design, but in terms of the uniform, I mean, it's not too bad. I like the lightning bolts pointing in towards the chest. I like the utilization of color on one of them, but it looks a little bit too much like the Tennessee Titans, if I'm being honest. You guys let me know about that one. And finally, I think we did show that one already. This is going to be the holy grail of what we're all aiming for, right? I think as Chargers fans, again, some people might be nitpicking some of the details here, but I think this is ultimately what us as a collective are kind of pushing for. And this is me as like the YouTuber or whatever you want to call it, like the overseer of the fans on social media. This is what I'm seeing for the most part, right? I a lot of the times, and I get hit up for this a lot, guys. I'm not going to lie. Another big reason I'm even making this video is because I get asked this question all the freaking time. You know, what are we doing? For one, I don't know. And number two, what do you want to see? This is kind of what I want to see, right? Between this one and I think it was the modernized take, right? Like between these two, this is it. Like that's exactly what I think the Chargers should roll out with. You imagine a team of these Navy helmeted tough MFers, right, with the old school look that throws us back to LaDainian Tomlinson and Junior Seau, coached up by Jim Harbaugh, rebuilt, you know, it to the toughness look and feel of a Harbaugh, of a Roman, of a Minter. Like this new era of Chargers football, I think deserves something more intimidating, and this to me is intimidating. I love that. Some people may say, hey, let's change the face mask out for Navy. That's fine with me. I think I prefer the yellow. But this to me represents so much history. It's a modernized sort of look. I think you could even substitute the bolts a little bit with the more modern look ones that we have now. But ultimately, this is kind of what I'm looking for as a fan. I think a lot of people would agree with me there from what I've observed in the comments, and especially on Twitter. I get asked this all the time on Twitter. You guys let me know what you think of that one. Definitely very cool. The last kind of thing I want to tack on to the end of this video, and again, maybe this one isn't as important to me. It is important to a lot of people because it does serve as a little bit of a reminder that the Chargers haven't really had a mascot, you know, and I think it'll be kind of a cool time to introduce that inside the Jim Harbaugh era. Bring some fun factor back to the team in terms of its surrounding, factors, including a mascot. I'm not super worried about the mascot element of it, but it does remind me of back in the day when the Chargers had, Boltman. And Boltman was never really officially the Chargers mascot. He was everywhere, and he was kind of considered the mascot by so many fans and so many people outside of our fandom. But it would be cool to get back to something like that. And I think the Chargers have an opportunity to do something like that right now. My one thing, and I already skimmed over it, is I hope that we don't do something with like a human. I don't know if it's just me, but human mascot costumes like hit the same nerve as like a ventriloquist doll or something. I'm not about it, but I mean, if you wanted to do Zeus or Thor or something, in that mythology with lightning, I guess I wouldn't knock them too bad. But some of the ideas that have been thrown out, the biggest one in my opinion that I would love to see is represented right here. The old school Chargers, Charger horse and shield logo with the navy, with the yellow, with the white. I love everything about this. And if we were to bring a mascot in, this is what I would do. I don't know if I would, mess too much with the Thor thing and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it could be cool, but give us a jousting horse, man. What is a charger? A charger is a charging horse, right? The first man into battle, charging, leading the team, right? Or leading the battle. Like, it's a cool idea. It's one of the reasons why the Chargers are named this in the first place. A quick history lesson: the team was actually named by, I think it was a contest of the fans in San Diego, and the owner at the time brought in these guys, and it was ultimately a fan that ended up naming the Chargers today. And Charger was representative of the horse, right? And some people don't like it because it's a little close to the Broncos, Colts, whatever. I think it's extremely appropriate for the team to throw back to this particular era. There's other logos that are more, classic, that do have the horse on it too. If you're gonna go with the mascot, I think it's got to be the jousting horse, man. Put the proper, what do you call it? The armor and the trappings or whatever on top of the horse, make it look really cool. Give him one of them cool jousting, sticks or whatever, or spears. Like, I think it would be an awesome concept, and it would be something really cool to have the fans engaged on the sideline. If you weren't to do that, there was another design I thought was kind of cool. I saw on Twitter years ago, right? And this is kind of where we started. Hey, man, look at that helmet on the right side. That would be pretty sick. I think a rhino is definitely not a bad idea too. And again, maybe it's not as appropriate or whatever. It would be very unique, right? And again, I don't care as much about the mascot. If they made it a rhino and it was cool and it was different from the rest of the NFL, because there's already like a ton of horses and they want to move away from that, I think a rhino would be awesome. Another one of those classic, animal kingdom species that are known for charging, right? think that's a big reason why the original concept art designer of this decided to go in that direction. And I'd be very cool with that, if I'm being honest. That's actually kind of sick. I do like the idea of a Charger Rhino being the mascot on the sidelines, all right? And the last thing I wanted to bring up for this video before wrapping it up is the Chargers, in my opinion, and this is going to draw some debate. I can already feel it. I understand there's different views and preferences and beliefs and morals behind all this kind of stuff, but to me, it feels like nothing but pure, innocent fun, excitement, engagement with the fans, hypes with the fans. I think the Chargers need to bring back the cheerleaders. I'm sorry, like, if again, some people may disagree, with the whole idea of it. I don't really follow that seriously, and I do remember the Chargers girls being a big part of the team engagement with the fans engagement with the hype. It was an awesome, fun thing to do, as fans in terms of an entertainment, and I would love to see that return. I don't know what happened. I think it was previous the pandemic, like literally when we were in that soccer stadium. That the last time we saw the Chargers girls, I don't remember, but I would love to see the Chargers girls make a return just to really help the Chargers fans. And again, the biggest reason I'm pushing for all of this is to engage the fans as efficiently and as aggressively as you can in the Jim Harbaugh era. I want us to be back, baby. I want the fans to be hyped. I want the fans to be engaged. Let's give ourselves some really hype, awesome, intimidating, cool-looking alternate helmets and uniforms. Let's get the Chargers girls back. Let's go get a kick-butt-looking rhino thing from Spider-Man. Make it look all cool, you know what I mean? As the mascot on the sidelines. Get this team, some footprint, identity in time design elements for us as Chargers fans to reminisce on and be like, hey, man, remember that, dude? Like, the Chargers are here. Jim Harbaugh is here. Finally, we're looking like a mean team on the ground, like we're running and pounding, and like it's awesome to think about the Chargers becoming that rough, tough, old school team, and getting the fans engaged at this moment. I think is very important, and a big reason why I made this video. Again, some people are not going to like the fact that that's the subject matter of today's video, but it's something that really, like yesterday, it came up naturally while we were on the live stream with you guys, and it really stuck with me when I woke up. I was like, dude, like, yes, please, let's take advantage of this opportunity. Let's put another footprint in time of my favorite days as a Chargers fan. Let's get the fans engaged. Let's bring back the Chargers girls. Let's get the mascot in here. Like, I think it would be an awesome time to do all of this as the Chargers are rounding the corner into a very important era in the team's history. I promise you guys, this is going to be one of the most unique, important, and successful eras in Chargers history, and I want as many elements around it to support that idea and that hype and that excitement for the fans as we're going into it, because we have been through the ringer. It has been tough. It has been ups and downs, mostly downs, but just crushing or soul-crushing defeat is kind of what we've been known for, the choking. I want to leave all that behind, and I think it would help us all move on from that a little bit quickly if those elements were introduced to us now as fans as this new successful era is about to kick off. All right? There it is. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, kind of an outside, topic of what we normally do on the channel, but one that I think could be very important going forward, and one that I hope that we collectively as a fan base push a little bit harder for on social media. Let's get those Navy uniforms in, man. Again, if I were voting, right? If it were me voting, director, what do you want to see? What do you want to see happen? If we are, your social media troops, what do you want us to do? Let's go out there and push this uniform, right? Let's get the Navy out there, man. Let's get, even with the modernized bolts or whatever, let's get this look out there. It's nice, it's clean, it's intimidating. Let's go get ourselves a mascot reminiscent of the Charger horse in that, Navy element. And let's bring back the Chargers girls. Have that hype and fun on the sidelines that everybody grew up with in San Diego, right? I think it's time that the Chargers do something like that and just really maximize our excitement for the season. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been the director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Thanks for holding down the fort, Bolt Man. Hopefully we get ourselves a nice mascot, official mascot here in the future.